Okay, so to do the 45s you obviously need a 45 square. The problem with this is that the perspex rail is down below here, several millimetres, probably 6 millimeters down or so. So the body of this isn't deep enough or thick enough to hit on it. You need to reference off the perspex and not off the ply. So in order to do that, I found a 1/4 inch 6.3 millimeter hex key, and it should have two parallel sides that sit against the perspex. Push it along beyond the fence, place the body, make sure the body of the 45 square goes against that, and then just push it along. It's a little bit fiddly until you hit the corner. Now I've decided to leave these thrust blocks on, and I'm going to make a 45 thrust block and fence which just plugs in, and because otherwise it's just, you have to unscrew that every time. So if I want to do 45s I can just plug in the 45 fence straight in, don't touch that, and then it's just a question of making sure that you are perfectly, oops, let's get that against the perspex, put some finger pressure down and then draw a line. That's it really. So now I've got a line I can work to. So now I'm setting up the table saw to cut 45-degree cuts for the end stop fence, which is the fixed fence on the 45-degree fence. And first of all, cut one end, so I've got like a beak 45, as you can see here. Then I measure the line on the top of the board and transfer that to the top of the end stop fence. At this point I'm just machining it almost to size, but not quite. I need to creep up on it. Okay, so once you've got both ends with double 45s, you've got it to the right length. This end has to measure up with the front of the plywood, the upper plywood base, not the perspex. So just put a square or something on top of the perspex, that will prevent, and you can push it into that corner. You should find that edge is lined up. So now I've got to make a triangular base to put that on. Okay, I've cleaned up all these edges so that it's all the rough fluff has come off and everything is fairly sharp. So take the biggest square, set it against this back edge, bring the triangle in so that this is flush now along the back here. This point should not project in front of the front of this wooden thing, and when we put this on, that should be 45. When we rotate it like this, same again, let's make sure it is spot on. Make sure this doesn't hit the plastic guide. Yeah, that's okay. So here you can see the workpiece is right up against the underside of the router plate on the wood route. Obviously you can cut this rebate or rabbet on a router table. This is just an upside down router table. So anyway, this chipboard support is pushed all the way up and then locked with these wing nuts until the workpiece is sitting right up against this. So now when I move the handle on the route, I can move it backwards and forwards. The router bit will cut the rabbet or rebate. And this is the triangle ply base to which we're going to cut this rebate to. So I just need to depth the bit onto the top of the workpiece, zero it off, all the usual procedure. Use this in here, depth stop. So now when I plunge, that depth will be the thickness of the ply, so my rebate will be the correct depth. Okay, so there's the rebate now in this end stop fence, which fits on there like that. And the end stop fence then needs a slot routed in it, so I'm just marking off the end points of the slot. Okay, so I put the workpiece on its side now, just a piece of scrap walnut under here. Push this up and these pinchers are set to lock it in like so. And that's a slot cut in the end stop fence. So now it's just a question of gluing it to the triangular base, and for this I just used a rub joint basically, and give it a little rub backwards and forwards, and then clamp it up. Now you just need to select another piece of ply, and this is for the thrust block for the 45 fence. And this thrust block is going to have a 45-degree bevel cut, as you see here, on both ends. So again, you just need to creep up on it to size it to the actual fence that you've made, and then drill a couple of holes in the back of it with some threaded inserts. Okay, so try and keep it straight, apply a bit of pressure. So what we do is, we've yet to drill the hole for the, I'm going to put one of these in, drill a hole for it here. Once I've established a hole here in the bottom of this, I can drill through into here, and then I can put another threaded insert into there. So anyway, that will go into there, and that hole should then go here, and I can sight it down into there. So I'll put it there, we'll put it there, that will go into a threaded insert, tighten it up. Using a very sharp blade-like pencil lead, I can now draw my line. It's going to go there. Is that where it needs to go? Your hand is actually going to go into it and hit that. So actually the halfway point isn't right. I would say it needs to go about there. Alright, so we learn something every day. Every day's a school day. So it turns out that's the halfway point from the end to the inside face, and we need to come in slightly here, just purely because otherwise your hand, your knuckles will hit this fence and that fence. Right, so that should be right there. There we go. I've saved you from watching a boring video clip on drilling a hole. So that's now in place. We can now position this at both ends, and using the same bit I can mark through. So I used an 8mm Forstner bit, which this clears. There's a little bit, well, hardly any room. I use my big square to line this up at the back edge, push it against this fence. I've kept the sliding fence on this end and on the other end. So what we're trying to do is get this right in this corner now. Check the edges flush. About there now. Take your bit, put in that hole. It shouldn't rattle around because it's made that hole. Bit of a twist, make sure the centre point makes a mark. Take it away. Right, so there's my mark, and we don't need to do any more than that. Well, we can reinforce it with the bradawl. So that's where my hole's going to go at this end, and now we need to repeat for the other end. Then we need to drill a hole here for an M8 threaded insert, and I've used the same style that I've used for M6, so that needs to go into there, and the same at the other side. Okay, so I've actually drilled that to 13mm, and I've got a block of wood here with a 22mm hole which fits this socket set. That just keep it straight, or hopefully will keep it a bit more straight than if I do this by hand. So that's what we're going to do, but before we do that, just get a bit of your favourite lubricant, some candle wax or some other kind of lubricant. Pass it through the support block. And I'm just mounting the threaded insert onto the hex thing, guide it into the hole. Should, in theory, line up with that now. If you need this to have any sort of sideways adjustment, you can make the hole in this angle board a bit bigger and then it will move. Piece of bandsawn U. And here's a picture of the final shooting board. And now it's time to go make yours. Thanks for watching, and if you like what you see here and you're new to this channel, please subscribe for more updates as they become available. Otherwise you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter or Pinterest, so that would be greatly appreciated. Thanks, and see you again soon.